I picked up an amnesiac silly girl from Niping Alley and brought her home. I thought she was really pretty. I lied to her that she was my fiancée. Surprisingly, the silly girl bought it. But later, she regained her memory. Turns out she's a noble and powerful female CEO. She finally went back to the world that belonged to her. Not even a shred of nostalgia. But we met again 2.5 years later. I was just about to sneak away, but she grabbed me and stopped me right away. Fiancée, did you lose your memory too? I met Liu Ruyan again at my university. She donated a whole library to the school. The school invited her over for an interview session. Ms. Liu, you've achieved so much at such a young age. What made you decide to invest in education? To give people who are eager to learn access to books. That's one of my wishes. Is this wish related to your past experiences? Liu Ruyan fell silent. After she lost her memory 3 years ago, she was abandoned in a remote rural area. She went through the hardest time of her life there. No one knows about this. I was sitting in the audience, staring at her from far away. Liu Ruyan was wearing luxurious, glamorous clothes at this moment. Her expression was cold and distant, and I was just a male college student who just finished applying for poverty assistance grant. We were less than 100 meters apart, but it felt like there was an uncrossable chasm between us. My roommate rested his face on both hands, looking totally infatuated. Wow, she's so gorgeous. That's my wife for sure. No, she's my wife. There are tons of rich second-gen people who go viral online, but someone like Liu Ruyan, whose figure and looks can easily outshine even showbiz celebrities. Those kinds of people are extremely rare. That's why everyone jokingly calls her their wife. Oh, right. Do you guys know the rumor that my wife went missing 3 years ago? I heard she just went abroad to study. She didn't go missing. Chenza, have you heard about this? No, I haven't. I heard they finally found her in the Northwest. Chenza, you're from the Northwest, right? Haven't you heard any news about it? Nope. I'm not good at lying. Luckily, the lights in the auditorium were dim. It hid my guilty expression perfectly. 3 years ago, Liu Ruyan wasn't just in the Northwest. She was staying at my house. We lived together for over a year. At our closest point, I held her in my arms and we slept in the same bed. But these secrets can only be buried deep in my heart forever. The interview was coming to an end. It was time for the Q&A session. A student raised his hand to ask a question. Ms. Liu, I heard you have a fiancé. And you even tattooed his name on your body. Is that true? Everyone loves gossiping, it's human nature. The atmosphere got really lively all of a sudden. This has nothing to do with today's topic. Dude, the person who spoke was Yananze. He was sitting right next to Liu Ruyan. He was also a guest today. He's her right-hand man at work. Rumor says they're childhood sweethearts. Their families have been close for generations. It's true. The tattoo is right on my pulse. As she said that, she pulled back her cuff, revealing the character Z on her wrist. The whole crowd went wild. Yananzi was sitting right next to her. Who else could the character Z refer to? Yananzi himself lowered his head shyly, as if he was admitting it by default. That's great, they're a perfect, well-matched couple. I felt nothing at all. I just wanted to hurry back to the dorm to do my homework. When I walked past the backstage area, the student body president stopped me. Tenzu? Perfect timing. Can you go get a coat for the guest? I ate at Wallace this morning. My stomach hurt so bad. The president looked pale as a sheet, clutching his stomach. It didn't look like he was faking it. When I was applying for the subsidy, he helped me out a lot. I had no reason to turn him down. But the guest was Liu Ruyan. The interview had already ended. Liu Ruyan was walking towards backstage with her long legs. I wanted to avoid her, but it was already too late. She turned her head and saw me right away. Liu Ruyan's gaze lingered on me for a second. If I ran away now, it would be way too suspicious. I just decided to stand there openly. After all, I was wearing a mask. Liu Ruyan frowned and asked, "Are you also a student of this university?" I nodded my head. "What's your name?" "Me? Lin." I only said my last name. Liu Ruyan was pulled back by Yananze. She was dragged away. When she turned back to look for me later, I was already nowhere to be seen, but I didn't go far at all. I overheard their last conversation. "Stop looking, Qinglin, it's not him." Their eyes look exactly the same. "So what, even if it's him? He scammed a ton of money off you, remember?" I lowered my eyelids. My body trembled slightly. He's right. I was too greedy and sold Liu Ruyan off. My name used to be Wang Chenze. I'm from a super poor small village in the Northwest. How poor was it, you ask? When I was little, my family couldn't even afford rice. Mom would pick up spoiled noodles other people threw away, wash off the maggots and cook them for the whole family. The year I turned 17, there was a really heavy snowstorm. When the heavy snow blocked off the mountain, I saw Liu Ruyan at the village entrance. She was sitting there all dazed. Her eyes were blank. I walked up to her and asked, "What's your name?" "Ruyan." She couldn't even speak properly. She was obviously not all there mentally. I turned around to leave, but she grabbed me. Her eyes were full of pleading. In weather like this, it only takes one night, and she'd freeze to death. Every winter, people in our village freeze to death. Drunks pass out and sleep in the snow, and they're frozen stiff by the next day. Honestly, I didn't really want to get involved, but she's a living human being after all. I couldn't just stand by and watch her freeze to death. So I took her home with me. She looked a few years older than me, so I called her sister Ruyan. She didn't have any ID on her at all, like someone had purposely taken them all away. I took her around to look for her family. We went to every single government department, but we never got any leads. That's not surprising, though. In a tiny place like ours, everyone knows. All those clerks got jobs through connections and just slack off all day. Why would they bother actually helping you solve problems? They told us to go home and wait for notice. We waited for a whole year, so this silly girl settled down at my house. Honestly, I had my own little agenda too. My mom was sick. She was always confused and disoriented. I didn't find out until I got to college later. That illness is called Alzheimer's disease, and there's no cure for it. I had to take care of my mom every day, study and work odd jobs on the side. After Sister Ruyan came, at least I didn't have to work odd jobs anymore. She was young and strong. Doing manual labor was no problem for her. But she was really weird. At first, she couldn't do any chores right, all clumsy and fumbly, and she complained about being tired every single day, seeing her just eat and do no work. I got frustrated. "If you keep acting like this, I'll kick you out." Liu Ruyan panicked right away. "Sister, you can't abandon me. I'm your wife." "Oh, right. I lied to her and said if she ate our family's food, she had to marry me. It was a white lie. This silly girl was way too pretty. So many matchmakers came to our house asking for her. That was the only way to get those matchmakers to leave us alone. Where we lived, poor people get married really early. Getting engaged in your teens was totally normal. When I said I'd kick her out, Liu Ruyan looked so helpless. She had a face that looked really cold and unfeeling, but she looked at me all timid and scared. After that, Liu Ruyan worked really hard at all the chores. Finally, she wasn't just eating and staying for free anymore. As time went on, she started showing some really unusual sides of herself. Once I got bullied by some people, all the guys around were laughing at me. When Liu Ruyan was waiting for me at the school gate to walk home, she saw what was happening. She rushed over and beat one of the guys, so bad he collapsed on the ground. She hit really hard, every blow aimed at vital spots. Like a wild, crazed animal, no one could stop her. In that moment, she was a total stranger to me. I grabbed her arm and yelled, "Sister Ruyan, stop hitting him." She stopped right away. Let me hold her hand and lead her away. If ZZ says stop hitting, I stop. Then we won't beat him up. That guy had bruises all over his body. His parents came to our door demanding we pay the medical bills. Our already poor family was hit even harder. That very night, Liu Ruyan seemed to know she messed up. She sat dejectedly in the corner. When I went to comfort her, I saw her face was covered in tears. "I'm sorry, ZZ. I know I was wrong. I won't cause any more trouble from now on, just please don't leave me." She cried just like a little kitten. My heart softened. I coaxed her. "Then you have to behave well later. I only want an obedient wife." "Okay." The next day, Liu Ruyan came home with a bunch of money. She had sold her watch. When I first found her, she was wearing a really expensive-looking watch on her wrist. I said anxiously, "How could you sell that? We need that watch to find your family later." But she grinned super brightly. "You are my family. I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here with you. This silly girl must have gotten scammed." That watch was definitely worth way more than what she got, but Liu Ruyan didn't care at all. She became super well-behaved and only listened to what I said. But that guy had really bad luck after that. Nails randomly showed up in his shoes. There were bugs in his clothes, lice in his rice. His bike tire went flat out of nowhere when he rode. He fell into the river, stuff like that. How could there be that many coincidences? I looked at Liu Ruyan, and she was grinning right back at me. Looking back now, Liu Ruyan was already showing little signs of this back then. She corrected my English pronunciation, so I asked if she had learned English before. She froze for a second. "I don't know." "Did I learn it before?" Even though she lost her memory, her language instinct was still there. My mom told me back then, Ruyan is probably from a big city. I said, that's awesome. I'll get into a college in a big city too later. My mom looked really worried and didn't have the heart to discourage me. If she's really from the city, the two of us will never have a future together. The gap between us is way too big. It poured rain the day the college entrance exam ended. Our old house wasn't very sturdy. It leaked, so my little bed was unlivable. I had to sleep on a floor mat with Liu Ruyan. We sat really close to each other. We could even feel each other's breath. Can't sleep? What if I don't get in? You will. I heard city students are super smart. Their teachers are really good too. Even if I work super hard, I probably won't be as good as them. Zizi, where do you want to go to college? I thought for a second. Beijing. I want to see Tiananmen in the capital. Don't laugh. Every kid from the countryside dreams of seeing Tiananmen. Okay, then we'll go to Beijing. We'll bring Mom with us too. Guyan, what if I don't get in? Then I'll take you there. Liu Ruyan's tone was super firm. I'll take both of you there. It felt like something hit my heart. The year I turned 18, I finally knew what it felt like to be truly smitten. I was so grateful that she was my fiancée. I reached out and hugged her, feeling the warmth coming off her body. Liu Ruyan's body tensed up for a second. Then she hugged me back gently. We just held each other quietly like that, doing nothing at all. But it felt absolutely perfect. Looking back now, that night, I was so blinded by happiness that I didn't notice Liu Ruyan was acting off. She wasn't being silly anymore. Every word she said was super appropriate and had a sharp edge to it. Her eyes glinted sharply in the dark. That was her own unique glow. End of flashback. I grabbed my coat and wandered around backstage. Liu Ruyan was throwing a fit in the guest lounge. I don't know what happened, but she was super mad. I peeked through the crack in the door and saw Liu Ruyan using the sharp tip of her high heel to crush someone's finger. She said in a cold voice, "Trash." I froze on the spot. Is this really Liu Ruyan? Is she still the same girl who followed me around saying she wanted to spend her whole life with me? Is she still the same Liu Ruyan who, after paying the medical fees, hid in the corner and cried secretly? Maybe this is what she's really like. After I went to college in Beijing, I read some finance magazines and found out the real truth about Liu Ruyan. She's 8 years older than me, the second daughter of the Liu group. Though she's apparently an illegitimate child, that doesn't take away from her noble status. She's not even 30 yet, but she's already extremely ruthless. A year ago, she personally drove her own sister insane and became the only heir, just from reading words on a page. It's hard to imagine how vicious Liu Ruyan can be. Seeing it with my own eyes today, she feels a little familiar, but also really strange. Maybe I should just leave the jacket at the door and go. But just as I was hesitating, the door opened. Who's out there? Liu Ruyan walked out. She had a cold, indifferent expression on her face. I actually shivered at that moment. It's okay, I'm wearing a mask and a hat. If I pull the brim of my hat down lower, no one will recognize me, I said calmly. It's for Brother Ye. Before I finished speaking, a classmate walked past backstage and stopped me. Chenza, you haven't gone back to the dorm yet. The second he called my name, Liu Ruyan grabbed my wrist tightly. What's your name? Liu Ruyan stared at me intensely. I didn't say a word. So she reached out to take off my mask. Right at that moment, I saw my lifesaver. Tenze, there you are. Liu Ruyan suddenly let go of my hand. She looked at me, then at the boy I had called out to. I went on to say, the head of the propaganda department was looking for you just now. Oh, I'll go find him right now. I'll come with you. I took the chance to put down the jacket and left with the classmate. What a coincidence, this boy had the same name as me. After I left the small theater, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. The boy asked, Chenze, what were you talking to President Liu just now? Were you running errands for her, really? The vibe between you two felt so weird. Weird how she was so fierce, like she was gonna eat you alive. He wasn't wrong. Liu Ruyan really did look like she wanted to eat me alive. The reason goes back to the summer when I turned 18. The day the college entrance exam results came out, an uninvited guest showed up in our village. Ye Nanze. He said he was a friend of Liu Ruyan's, and he was here to take her away. What my mom had said before came true. Liu Ruyan wasn't just from a big city. She was a rich, pretty girl from a good family. The reason she ended up stranded here was also pretty complicated. Her sister set her up and got her into an accident. She was lucky enough to survive, but she suffered a brain injury. I've just got to say, rich family drama is way too messed up. At first, I treated Yananse like a guest, but when I found out his name also had the character Z in it, I froze. In our village, Everyone calls me Xiao Wang, including my mom. Only Liu Ruyan calls me Zeza. I thought it was weird before, but now I have the answer. Every time Liu Ruyan called me, was she actually calling someone else? Was she being nice to me and doing what I said? Because she thought I was Yananze. Yananze was so handsome, dressed in a nice suit, his leather shoes shiny as could be, standing next to Liu Ruyan. They looked like they belonged in the same world. Then I looked at myself. The patch on the knee of my pants looked like a total joke, but I still wouldn't give up. When Yananze was about to take Liu Ruyan away, I asked if she was leaving voluntarily. Of course she is. He crossed his arms, looking down at me from above. She's the young lady of the Liu group. She has hundreds of millions in assets to inherit. You don't actually want her to stay here and live a hard life with you, do you? No way, I need to see her. Fine, if you insist on hearing it yourself. Nanzi, thank God you got here in time. I almost got scammed. The voice was so nice. It was definitely Liu Ruyan's voice. There's no way I could be wrong. Heard that loud and clear. I'm taking her with me. Ye Nanzi stuffed a huge amount of hush money into my hand. You know the rules, I don't need to spell them out for you, right? I actually didn't want this humiliating money at all, but my mom was really seriously ill, and we were in urgent need of money. Liu Ruyan had already abandoned me. I couldn't afford to lose my mom too. I was very disappointed, but I calmed down really quickly and weighed the pros and cons. I might as well let Liu Ruyan play her final bit of value. I said, "That's all you've got." Way too little. You guys have no sincerity at all. Yananzi seemed really surprised that I said that. Sure enough, you're not some innocent little fool. That's right. I took her in just for today. Are you satisfied now? That's so despicable. You know I'm despicable. Then hurry up and pay more to shut my mouth. Yananzi was so choked by my words that he couldn't speak. In the end, I got a huge sum of money, all of which was used for my mom's medical treatment, but it still failed to save her life. The day my admission notice arrived, she cried tears of joy. That was the last time I saw her smile, and also the last time I saw her cry. She said, "Jiang, honey, you have to study hard. Go visit Tiananmen Square and the Great Wall for me. I've been a rural woman my whole life. I failed to provide you with a good life. Don't blame your mom, okay?" How could I ever blame her? She had already given me everything she could. I was very content, very happy, and I loved her so much. Later, I went to Beijing, visited Tiananmen Square and the Great Wall. Then I changed my surname to my mom's and became Lin Jiangze. The name Liu Ruyan gradually faded from my mind. Only sometimes when I walk on busy streets, I will suddenly remember, this is the place where she grew up. These sceneries are nothing special to her. They're totally ordinary. But so what? We were never going to meet again anyway. Okay, my vow of never meeting again did break today. But it's not completely broken. I soon forgot Liu Ruyan entirely. When I attended the student union regular meeting again, the president said, "Last time President Liu left, she took all of our resumes with her." My heart tightened sharply instantly. Resumes. Yeah, no one knows what she needs them for. But I knew exactly what was going on. Resumes don't just have names and photos on them. They also have information like hometown and native place. I would be completely transparent in front of her. But I still held a tiny bit of lucky hope. Liu Ruyan has everything now. Why would she bother making trouble for a poor student like me? The meeting ended. Everyone walked out of the office one by one. The boy in front of me stopped walking, looking totally confused. I asked, "What's wrong, Liu?" I looked up. Liu Ruyan was leaning against the corridor wall. I turned around and wanted to run immediately. "Lin Jiangzi, long time no see." Liu Ruyan took me to a restaurant. "Any random dish ordered here?" Costs as much as my living expenses for a whole month. She didn't eat, just sat there watching me eat. I didn't stand on ceremony with her either. Since I can't avoid this, I might as well go with the flow. Fill my stomach first before worrying about anything else. I don't know how much time passed. Liu Ruyan finally spoke and asked, "Why are you avoiding me?" That was the first question she asked after we reunited. I took a bite of crab meat and said, "Oh, Miss Liu." "You're joking, right? I'm just a poor student. You're the heir of the whole group. We have no reason to interact with each other." Oh, what a nice no reason to interact. This is the top-class restaurant in the city. I know every guest that comes here. I didn't understand what she meant by that, so I just listened quietly. "I brought you here today. Everyone saw us. People will start looking up your information very soon to find out what our relationship is. You won't be able to avoid me even if you want to by then." I wasn't scared at all, though. I smiled instead and said, "Humph. This is the first time I've ever eaten such delicious crab. Totally worth it. There's something even more delicious." "What?" "Me, of course. You love money, right? Spend one night with me, and I'll give you money." "Does your boyfriend know about this?" "I don't have a boyfriend." "What about Yananzi?" "He's just my assistant." "Huh. You two looked like you were about to get married." "Nonsense. The old Liu Ruyan would never talk to me like this." When she met my eyes, her arrogance faded a little. "What I mean is, there's nothing going on between him and me, let alone getting married." "Humph. Oh really, you're such a scumbag. 'Cause you just let everyone keep misunderstanding." As I spoke, I spat out a mouthful of crushed crab shells. A little bit splashed right onto Liu Ruyan's face. She froze for a second and forgot to wipe it off. "I just think this kind of nonsense isn't worth paying attention to. If I had to clear up every single rumor, I'd spend all day doing nothing but that." Halfway through her sentence, she stopped in surprise. That's right, she realized. She was explaining herself to me. Someone as powerful as Liu Ruyan, who does whatever she wants. Why would she waste so much breath on someone? That makes sense. I nodded in agreement. "A scum girl like you. Good thing I never took you seriously. Giving myself to you for 2 million was a pretty good deal, actually." "So, are we still sleeping together?" Right after that, Liu Ruyan angrily shoved me into her Porsche, a drive that usually takes an hour. She finished in only 30 minutes. The lights were off in the villa. The second we stepped into the entryway, she pinned me against the cabinet. She ripped at my collar with her teeth, frantic and irritable. I didn't fight back. I just spoke when she was at her most intense. "I want to work in the president's office." Liu Ruyan froze immediately. I repeated myself. "The president of Liu Group headquarters. How else? Only students with connections can get internships there. Even if I work my ass off for half my life, I'll never get in. I don't want money. I just want this opportunity. It's Liu Group, for God's sake. Tons of college students would kill to get in." Liu Ruyan slowly let go of me. "Are you serious?" "Yep," I smiled. "I want to go learn at Liu Group. That way I can get a high-paying job after graduation." With a loud crash, Liu Ruyan angrily smashed the porcelain vase by the door. Her hand was bleeding, but she acted like she couldn't feel the pain at all. She looked at me almost in despair. "Is all there is between us just using each other? What else? You have other options, you know. Butter me up. Get back together with me, and I'll give you anything you want." "No, that's too much hassle. I don't want your heart." "I don't want your feelings either." "That stuff's useless anyway." Wang Jiangzi. "Do you even have a heart?" "It's Lin Jiangzi. I took my mom's last name." "Oh, right. He passed away 2 years ago. Right after you left." Liu Ruyan. I'm an orphan. I don't deserve to have a heart. Do you have any idea how I got through those days? First one of you, then the other, left me within the same month. I couldn't keep my mom. I couldn't keep you either. I took Yananzi's money. Yeah, 'cause I had no money to pay for my mom's treatment. You were so rich. But you just left and never looked back. What was I supposed to do? The more I talked, the tenser the atmosphere got. Blood dripped from her hand, onto the floor. I'm all alone in Beijing. I have to survive. If I slack off even for one day, I might end up with nothing to eat. Ruyan, I'm fighting to stay alive. And you're asking me if I have a heart. Do you have a heart for asking that? Her face turned even paler. Her eyes were so red they looked like they were about to bleed, bright and striking. I thought she was going to blow up, yell at me like she did when she stepped on someone's finger, and humiliate me. But I waited forever, and Liu Ruyan lost all her anger. She lowered her head and said to me, I'll give you everything you want. Really, just be with me, okay? No, I rejected her straight away. I don't even like you. I just had a really short crush when I was 18. It was on Liu Ruyan.
Probably because my family was poor.
I learned one thing when I was little. Never wish for things that don't belong to you. The day Ruyan left. I was sad, though. But I snapped out of it real quick. Now she wants to get back together with me. That's so weird. Did she get bored of those preppy, pretty boys? Wants to try something new for a change. But none of that matters anyway. I know perfectly well, we're from totally different worlds. I only need to plan for my own future. Liu Ruyan finally let me go. The next day, I got the internship offer from Liu Group. I was swamped with work. Grabbed every chance I could to learn new skills. It was 12 a.m. late Friday night. I was finally off work. My coworkers were so tired they slouched over their desks, scrolling phones. Suddenly, someone yelled in shock. Our chairman Liu is trending. She said her fiancé isn't Mr. Ye. When it comes to juicy gossip, everyone gets super hyped. I stood off to the side, quietly packing up my files. Let me check. Chairman Liu said her fiancé is someone else. She hopes everyone doesn't get the wrong idea. It's not Mr. Yi. If it's not Mr. Ye, who else could it be? Right. Other than Mr. Ye, who else is good enough for her? Her fiancé is a student. They can't reveal his identity right now. What student has that kind of capability? Hey, Xiaolin. Look, you're both students. And he's already Chairman Liu's fiancé. Oh, wow. Mr. Ye posted on Weibo too. This is wild. For real? Yananzi posted a line of poetry. I cast my heart to the bright moon, yet the moon shines upon the gutter. Obviously, Liu Ruyan is that bright moon. Wait, the gutter isn't me, is it? My mouth twitched a little. I finished up all my work and was just about to head home. I just stepped out of the office when I saw a woman standing there holding a bouquet of roses. My head started hurting immediately. We all call her Seductress. Back when I worked at the milk tea shop, she kept hitting on me nonstop. I turned her down so many times, but she just wouldn't give up. She even followed me all the way here. Seductress was looking at herself in a compact mirror. When she saw me, she put on what she thought was a super charming smile. Hey, Xiaoru. Sis is here to pick you up from work. If you keep harassing me, I'm gonna call the cops. Don't be so cold to me. Sis has lots of money. Wouldn't it be great if you dated me? I ignored all her flirty moves completely. Seductress got mad. Lin Jiangzi, don't you dare take my kindness for weakness. If I so much as wave my hand, guys like you would line up to get with me. You got a mirror with you, right? Take a look at yourself, if that's not enough. Piss on the ground and look at your reflection. Seductress was totally pissed off now. She started getting physical with me. You're such a stuck-up little shit, aren't you? Wonder if you're this stuck up in bed, too. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a familiar figure walking out of the office building. It was Liu Ruyan. She had that cold, distant vibe around her. But before she could step in, I shoved Seductress away hard already and poured the water from my cup over her head. Get lost. If I see you around again, I'll actually beat your ass. Liu Ruyan stood there stunned. What, did she think I'd wait for her to fix it? No way. I stopped having those stupid dreams a long time ago. Seductress got shoved by me and immediately lost all face. She yelled curses and tried to lunge at me again. But Liu Ruyan kicked her to the ground first. Liu Ruyan looked icy and stunning. She pressed her high heel on Seductress's hand, just like that day before. Seductress screamed and cried in pain. I'm calling the cops, you just wait. Go ahead, do it if you dare. Seductress caught a glimpse of the watch on her wrist and immediately backed down. She begged for mercy with a teary face. Miss, I didn't know that guy was yours. I'll never bother him again, I swear. I was just gonna leave. But when I heard that, I got annoyed immediately. I'm not hers. I belong to myself. No one else? Liu Ruyan glanced at me. Only when Seductress was crying from the pain. Did she let her go? The whole mess was over. Liu Ruyan offered to give me a ride, but the car wasn't heading towards the school. You're going the wrong way. If we go back to the school now, you think you can get into the dorms? None of your business. Haven't seen you in years. You've got a much tougher temper now. You even learned how to walk all over people. I ignored her, but she kept talking to me anyway. Is work going well for you? If anything upsets you, just tell me. If I tell you, will you pull strings for me? Yes. Liu Ruyan, are you addicted to being used by me? Yeah, I've figured it out. If I can be of use to you, I'm already content with that. Liu Ruyan took me back to her villa, said she'd drive me back to school tomorrow. The lights were off when I came last time. Today, the whole place is brightly lit. I just realized her home is really cold and empty. It doesn't feel like a home at all. She suddenly took out a first aid kit. I asked her confusedly what she was doing. Don't think I didn't notice your hand. I was a little surprised. My hand was indeed injured. Earlier today when I was getting hot water for a client, I accidentally scalded it. But to avoid affecting the project schedule, I held it in and didn't tell anyone. I put up with the pain the whole day. How did she find out about it? Liu Ruyan took my hand. Her tone was certain. You can't hide anything from me. Sits in front of me. You can drop all your pretenses. She knelt halfway in front of me. This usually cold and aloof woman was surprisingly gentle and patient when applying medicine for me. I stayed silent. My eyes wandered around the room. I suddenly spotted a group photo. It was a picture of my mom and Liu Ruyan. That was the 4th month after Liu Ruyan moved into our house. Someone brought a camera back from the town. Mom asked him to take a photo of the 3 of us. I still remember that day. Mom held the developed photo and couldn't put it down, muttering over and over, "We're a family of 3. Liu Ruyan agreed cheerfully. A family of 3. Such an ordinary day back then. But it can never come back again. I missed my mom so much. Tears welled up in my eyes, but I forced them back hard. Wait, how does Liu Ruyan have this photo? I suddenly realized something and asked out loud. That's wrong. Wasn't this photo left in our hometown? I went to our hometown to look for you later, so I brought it back with me. You looked for me. Me? A month after I returned to Beijing, I settled all the stuff and went back to look for you, but the house was already completely empty. The uncle next door said Mom had passed away. You left the village right after her funeral. Why did you look for me? Liu Ruyan gave me a strange look. To take you to Beijing to... What other reason would there be? But weren't you mad at me? I was indeed mad. Mad that you dumped me for 2 million yuan. Liu Ruyan sighed like she'd resigned to her fate. But no matter how mad I was, you're still my husband. What can I do about it? Who's your husband? You didn't show any nostalgia the day you left. You wouldn't even meet me once. It's not that I didn't want to see you. Actually, I lost a family member around that time too. The day Yananzi took me away. My grandpa was lying in the ICU. I'm an illegitimate daughter. No one liked me ever since I was little. Old Chairman Liu brought me back to the family, just to push my older sister to work harder. If you don't work hard enough, the reward will go to your little sister. If you don't make any achievements for the company, everything will be given to your little sister. I was just a control group for her. I got nothing at all in the end. I also had to carefully put up with my older sister and my so-called mother's anger. But there's nothing I can do about it. Who asked me to be an illegitimate daughter? It was obviously my dad who cheated, but I'm the one who has to bear all the consequences. If I had a choice, I'd rather never have been born. When I was in my 20s, Liu Ruyan's talent started to show. My older sister couldn't suppress her anymore. Compared to her, my older sister was hopelessly stupid. That's how that ridiculous rich family drama happened 3 years ago. Older sister framed her younger sister. The younger sister didn't die but hit her head badly and was left to fend for herself in some mountain in the northwest. To the outside world, they said she insisted on going exploring. It was her own fault she went missing. Just as the older sister expected, she's just an illegitimate daughter anyway. Old Chairman Liu didn't care at all. The family did a token search for her. They called it off when they found nothing. Her grandpa was the only family member who cared about Liu Ruyan. After she went missing, Grandpa fell seriously ill and never recovered. The old man reached out to Liu Ruyan's former trusted aides, including Yananze and others, and asked them to keep searching for her in secret. But the old man didn't have much time left. The reason Liu Ruyan rushed back to Beijing was to see her grandpa one last time. Sis, I already planned that after I got settled. I'd bring you and Mom over here. For over 20 years, I barely felt any family affection. Except for you two. You're my only family. Her eyes brimmed with tears as she spoke. I knew why she was crying. She missed my mom too. Mom was always really nice to her. Back when Liu Ruyan was mentally impaired and got bullied, Mom would always comfort her gently and stand up for her. But why do you call me Zizi? I finally asked the question that confused me most. Is it because of Yananze? Liu Ruyan looked a bit surprised. Why would you think that? It has nothing to do with him at all. Calling you Zizi is because when we first met, you introduced yourself, and I remembered the name Zizi right away. As for Yananze, he's just my colleague, nothing more. I've never called him Zizi before. That nickname is way too intimate. I'd never use it for a subordinate. I thought back on the little details from before, and suddenly it clicked. Yananze once played me a voice message. You said you almost got scammed in it. Liu Ruyan frowned and thought for a second. I was talking about my former assistant. He acted like he was my trusted aide. But he actually teamed up with my sister to scam me. Yananze took that out of context. To make you misunderstand. Right around that time, Grandpa was critically ill. Liu Ruyan had to leave in a hurry, so we missed the chance to talk things out. Liu Ruyan, your tattoo. She lifted up her sleeve. To show that tattoo, Liu Ruyan looked at me seriously. Lin Jiangzi, I like you. Back on the night you finished the college entrance exam, I already decided I wanted to be with you forever. The night the Gaokao ended, she curved her lips into a smile. That's another secret. Liu Ruyan had actually recovered her memory a long time ago. She knew who she was and what her status was, but she didn't want to go back to her old life. She just wanted to stay as my sister Royan. She didn't want to leave Mom and me. If Yananzi hadn't come looking for her and told her grandpa didn't have much time left, she wouldn't have left so soon. She was going to explain all this to me properly, but I disappeared without a trace, so she had no way to tell me. For the past 2 years, she looked everywhere for me, but she had no idea I changed my last name, so she never found me in the end. Less than 2 weeks after reuniting with Liu Ruyan, we cleared up all the misunderstandings, but I still turned down her request to get back together. There's no particular reason. I just think studies and career are more important than romance. That's all. I kept going to classes and working my internship. Later I heard Liu Ruyan had a falling out with Ye Nanze. Turns out they weren't childhood sweethearts at all, and there was no such thing as their families being old friends. It was all made up by clickbait accounts for views. Ye Nanze was one of Liu Ruyan's assistants. He'd worked for her for a pretty long time. After she was framed by her sister back then, Liu Ruyan lost most of her trusted aides. Since Ye Nanze was relatively loyal, he got to stay and got promoted really fast. He became a key member of her team, but he made a huge mistake. He interfered with his boss's personal life. A month later, Ye Nanze left the Liu group. Some people asked why I didn't get back at him. There's really no point, you have to look forward. There are way more fun things to do than getting revenge on him. A few more months passed. The news that Liu Ruyan was chasing me blew up at the company. It started when we met a client once. The client was a narcissistic, middle-aged, nouveau riche rich lady. She loved flirting with young male employees. This time she ended up flirting with me, and even touched me inappropriately. Since she was a company client, I could only keep dodging her. This scene was seen perfectly by Liu Ruyan, who was passing by. Second, Miss Liu is famous in the industry for having a bad temper. She stormed in and grabbed the rich lady's hair. She's always been ruthless when she fights. That rich lady couldn't handle it at all. For the sake of the company's image, I lunged forward immediately and held Liu Ruyan by the waist. Stop hitting her. Liu Ruyan's aggressive energy faded right away. She lowered her arm and turned to smile at me. Okay, I'll do whatever you say. That smile of hers shocked everyone in the whole company. Everyone knew Ms. Liu was cold and unapproachable. Who knew she had such a soft side? That's how I went viral overnight. No one in the entire group didn't know my name. My given name happens to have the character Z, and I also happen to be a student. So everyone put 2 and 2 together. Later I asked Liu Ruyan, "You're a woman. Why do you like hitting people so much?" I don't like hitting people, but some situations can't be fixed by the law. So the only choice is to give them a good beating. I won't let my employees get harassed, not even if the other party is a client. I stared at her for a long time and suddenly said, "It's nice that you're not acting dumb anymore." Liu Ruyan smiled knowingly. My internship is almost over. As for my future plans, I've already made up my mind. I pointed at the vast northwest region on the map. After I graduate, I'll go back to my hometown for poverty alleviation work first. Great, I'll come with you. We can bring some projects over there sometimes. For the kids in the village, I'll donate school buildings and textbooks. Wait a second, you donated the library to my school? Was that also because... Duh. She leaned on my shoulder, with a soft expression on her face. I'll always remember you holding a light in the dark, totally focused on reading. That was the first time I ever had a crush on someone. I grew really fast during my time at the company. When my 6-month internship ended, the department organized a team-building trip. The Liu group is super wealthy, especially when they heard it was my farewell trip. The leadership approved a huge budget, so everyone could have a good time. It was winter at the time. The department head suggested we go climb a snow mountain. Liu Ruyan came along too. Now everyone in the company is used to it. Wherever I am, she's always nearby. The snow mountain was beautiful, but an unexpected incident came quietly. That evening, everyone was cooking at the homestay, when a co-worker suddenly asked, "Has Ms. Liu come back yet?" Liu Ruyan left at noon, and hasn't come back since. It looked like it was about to snow outside the window. My heart skipped a beat in panic. Once it snows, the mountain will be closed off. Where did she go? Is she safe? Let's go look for her. A few co-workers and I searched for half an hour, but we didn't spot any sign of Liu Ruyan. I got even more anxious. The phone reception is bad in the mountains, so we couldn't get through to her. In the evening, a local gave me a tip. saying he saw a pretty female tourist at the mountain entrance. I immediately ran towards the mountain entrance. From far away, I spotted Liu Ruyan. She was sitting on the ground, covered all over with snow. This scene was exactly like the one 3 years ago. The day we first met, Liu Ruyan was also sitting like this in the heavy snow. For a second, I thought something happened to her again. Liu Ruyan. Liu Ruyan. The wind and snow swallowed my voice. She didn't move at all, and I panicked and blurted out, Sister Ruyan. She lifted her head suddenly, with a faint smile on her lips. Ziz, what are you doing here? I was so worried about you. Why are you here? I came to the mountain to look for a kind of grass. The locals said, this kind of grass sprouts even in the snow. It's super tough, just like you. She carefully held out her palm, and there was a snow-covered sprout inside. Leave it here. It won't survive once the snow melts. Don't take it away. Okay. Liu Ruyan obediently put the grass back into the ground. Before the next snowstorm hits, I held out my hand to her. Let's go, Sister Ruyan. Come back with me. Liu Ruyan and I held hands and didn't let go the whole way back. There's a golden summit sunrise tomorrow. Do you want to watch it? Yeah. Want to watch it together? Of course. I'll come wake you up early in the morning. No need. We can watch it together right in the room. Liu Ruyan froze for a second before she got what I meant. She was so thrilled she almost jumped right up. Totally unsteady. Luckily, there were no co-workers around here, but this giddy, unsteady look of hers is exactly the same as that silly girl I know. We went back to the homestay and let our co-workers know we were safe. By then, it was already late at night. Everyone went to bed one after another. As soon as the door closed, Liu Ruyan stood on tiptoe and kissed me. Her lips still carried the cold chill of wind and snow. Back on the night your college entrance exam ended, I've wanted to do this ever since. The next day, of course, we didn't get to see the sun illuminate the golden summit. But that's okay. We've got plenty of time in the future. After the Northwest Project officially launched, Liu Ruyan and I got married. The wedding wasn't a big fancy affair. I like things simple, and she was happy to go along with everything I wanted. At the wedding, Liu Ruyan was totally out of character. She cried even harder than I did and said, I have a family now. I said, I have a family now too. 2 lonely people like us wandered in circles through all these years and finally found each other. The day after the wedding, when I woke up, Liu Ruyan wasn't next to me in bed. That famously cold and gorgeous CEO was wearing an apron cooking in the kitchen. We didn't have much food left at home, just enough for 2 bowls of egg noodles. I used to love my mom's egg noodles more than anything, but I could never get the same flavor no matter how I tried. Only Liu Ruyan got my mom's real knack for making them. Steam rose from the pot, and that warm, simple scent filled the air. Suddenly, I missed my mom so much. It was her who raised me in that poor rural village and gave me endless patience and love. She never had any formal education, but she pushed me to study hard every single day. She never even had enough to eat herself, but she ran all over the place to borrow books and stationery for me. Her love gave me the confidence to fight all the way to where I am today. Mom, I have a family now. I have a successful career too. Can you see that? The hot steam made my eyes turn red. Liu Ruyan wrapped her arms around me from behind. Zuzu, I'll be your family from now on. What is a home, really? It's not a fancy luxury sports car. It's us staying together from dawn to dusk, watching the slow curl of kitchen smoke rise up.